My name is Nathan Cole. I'm 45, a senior financial strategist. For over 20 years, I've worked in the high-stakes world of corporate consulting, built myself from the ground up. And I thought my life, my marriage, was just as solid. My wife Camille and I had been together for nearly 2 decades. We raised a beautiful daughter, Ava, who had always been the light of my life. So imagine my pride when Ava's name was called at her university graduation. Walking across that stage in a sea of gowns and applause, I clapped the hardest, cheered with my whole heart. That moment meant everything to me. What I didn't know was that it would also be the moment my life would be turned upside down. Camille sat next to me, elegant as always, hair perfectly done, expression unreadable. She leaned in just as Ava reached for her diploma and said, "I'm done living with you." At my daughter's graduation, for a few seconds, I thought I misheard her. Maybe it was the crowd noise. Maybe I was imagining things. But Camille didn't flinch. She didn't look sad or conflicted. She just sat back, crossed her legs, and kept clapping. And that's when I noticed him. Her boyfriend sat with our family. Marcus, one of my junior associates, someone I had personally mentored at work. He was 2 rows behind us, sitting next to Camille's sister like he belonged there. I felt the air leave my lungs. Not from heartbreak, but from sheer clarity. The lies, the cold shoulder, the unexplained weekend trips, it all made sense. But I didn't explode. I didn't cause a scene. Because I had suspected something. And unlike Camille, I had come prepared. Camille opened the envelope that night after the graduation dinner. She hadn't expected much, maybe a farewell letter or some pathetic final plea. That's how little she thought of me by then. But the moment her eyes landed on the first document inside, the mask slipped. She was alone in the hotel room when she tore it open, but her sister was just down the hall. Camille called her screaming, voice cracking like glass under pressure. Her sister later told me the moment she walked into the room, Camille was pacing barefoot, papers scattered all over the bed, mascara smudged, phone in one hand, shaking. Inside the envelope, I had placed 5 simple items. No threats, no dramatics, just pure, undeniable truth. Item 1 was a printed email chain between Camille and Marcus, taken directly from our company's internal servers. He had used his work account. Idiotic, really. Dozens of messages, all time-stamped during office hours. Intimate exchanges, private jokes, even a few inappropriate photos. One particular message read, "Can't wait until this charade is over," sent while Camille and I were vacationing in Paris. Item 2 was a highlighted copy of our company code of conduct. The section on fraternization, abuse of hierarchy, and time theft was printed in bold. Marcus had not only broken company policy, he'd done it under my leadership on my team. Item 3 was a formal complaint, a disciplinary letter issued by our HR department. I had filed a complaint quietly a week prior, after gathering enough to warrant an internal ethics review. Marcus was already under investigation, though he didn't know it yet. Item 4 was perhaps the most personal. A set of photographs. Black and white prints showing Camille leaving Marcus's apartment at 6:47 a.m. That weekend, she had told me she was flying to care for her cousin who had sprained her spine. The timestamps made that lie fall apart faster than her alibi. And finally, item 5, a formal letter from my lawyer addressed to Camille. The heading, "Petition for Dissolution of Marriage. Grounds, Marital Infidelity." The document included a clause requesting full custody rights for Ava, citing emotional disruption and manipulation within the family environment. Camille didn't just lose control, she lost her mind. She called me, repeatedly, 6 times in a row. I didn't answer. Her voice messages grew increasingly unstable. "You planned this. You trapped me like some villain. You're ruining our daughter's life. How could you do this to her?" "No, Camille, you did this. I just made sure the truth had a witness." I slept soundly that night. First time in months. By Monday, the fallout was already moving into motion, slow, steady, and devastating. I arrived early at the office like always. Coffee in hand, calm, confident. My assistant handed me a printed memo. Marcus was officially suspended pending final HR disciplinary actions. His badge was revoked, his access disabled, his office empty. It was a quiet execution. There was no confrontation, no shouting match. Marcus had underestimated how many people respected me in that building, and overestimated how much protection Camille's status might afford him outside it. Our company had a strict zero-tolerance policy for inappropriate relationships involving power dynamics, especially those that could compromise productivity or cause workplace distractions. Camille wasn't an employee, but that didn't matter. Marcus had misused company time, resources, and his direct connection to me. The paper trail I'd given HR was airtight. Later that day, Camille tried to email our firm's managing partner, pleading her case, spinning a narrative that painted herself and Marcus as confused souls who found love after years of a dead marriage. I was BCC'd on the response. Thank you for your concern. This matter has been reviewed and resolved in accordance with company policy. All communications moving forward will be directed through legal counsel. That was it. Marcus was terminated by Friday. No exit party. No farewell card. His LinkedIn status changed quietly the next week. Open to work. Camille emailed me again. This time the tone was angrier, accusatory. You wanted to destroy us. You set all of this up. I didn't reply. There was no need. The truth had done the work for me. What she couldn't grasp was that I wasn't out for blood. I wasn't plotting revenge in some movie villain way. I had simply drawn a boundary and enforced it with precision. That evening, Ava called me. She had gone through the documents I had left on the kitchen counter in my apartment, carefully, page by page. Dad, is all of this real? I told her the truth. Yes, every word. I reassured her that none of it changed how much I loved her and that I'd never use any of this against her mother in front of her. You're not mad? She asked. Not anymore, I told her. She was quiet. Then finally she said, I want to come stay with you, for a while. The silence in Camille's world was creeping in now, and this time it was permanent. Her circle of friends, distant. Her sister, barely texting back. Her brother refused to pick sides, but when push came to shove, he told her she should have handled things more respectfully. The people who mattered weren't buying her version of the story. They knew who I was. They knew what I had tolerated. They knew how often I had covered for her impulsiveness just to preserve peace for Ava. Her attempts to rewrite the script failed because I had the receipts. She tried to tell family I was a narcissist, a manipulator, even a workaholic who neglected her for years. But then photos surfaced, ones I hadn't even leaked, of us on vacation, smiling, happy, 1 month before the affair began. And in those pictures, Camille wearing the necklace I bought her after she lied about staying late for yoga. The irony? Camille told Marcus once, in one of those corporate emails, Nathan is so cold and strategic. He always plays the long game. She meant it as an insult, but it was the truest thing she ever said about me. I don't scream, I don't chase, I build. So I began rebuilding. I started therapy, began jogging again. I took a few weeks off work and Ava and I repainted the guest room together. She asked me once while dipping her brush, "Did you love Mom?" I paused, then nodded. I did. But some people only love themselves. She didn't say anything after that, but I saw the gears turning. More importantly, I saw the healing begin. Camille's calls came less frequently, her messages more bitter. But I never blocked her. I just let her rage echo into silence, because this was the life she chose. And I was no longer a player in her game. I had already won the only battle that mattered. Peace. It was a Thursday afternoon when Camille messaged me again. Not a rant this time, not a voicemail laced with blame. Just a simple text. Can we talk? I didn't respond immediately. I gave it a day, then agreed to meet her, neutral ground. A quiet cafe just off Main Street. Not our usual place, somewhere unmemorable. She arrived 10 minutes early. That surprised me. She looked thinner, less polished than usual, still dressed sharp, but the confidence was dimmed. The sparkle, gone. I sat across from her. No handshake, just a silent, measured look between two people who had once shared a home, a life, a child. I made mistakes, she started, eyes darting away. But what you did? It was brutal. I sipped my coffee. I wasn't going to argue. Not anymore. You humiliated me, Nathan. She said it like she expected an apology. Like I'd pull out another envelope, this time with remorse. Instead, I said calmly, "No, you humiliated yourself. I just stopped shielding you from the consequences." She opened her mouth, closed it again. For the first time in months, Camille had nothing to say. "Do you feel better?" she finally asked. "Like you won?" I shook my head slowly. "There's no winning in this. Just truth and peace. And I've found both." She looked down at the table, tapping her nails on the ceramic mug. "That used to drive me crazy. Marcus left," she said quietly. "He couldn't handle the fallout. Said I was too messy." I almost smiled, but I didn't. I just nodded. "You chose him. He chose himself. That's the kind of love you built." A pause. "So what happens now?" she asked, voice nearly a whisper. "Now," I said, "we co-parent Ava. Respectfully. That's all that matters. Everything else, you can leave behind." She looked up then, really looked. There was sadness in her eyes, yes, but also something else, understanding, maybe even a flicker of regret. "I didn't think you had it in you," she said. "To protect myself?" I leaned back. "I always did. I just loved you too much to use it, until you made it necessary." She nodded slowly. A tear ran down her cheek. She didn't wipe it. I stood, slid my chair in quietly. "Take care of yourself, Camille." I turned and walked out, into the sunlight, into the street, into the next chapter of my life. And as the door closed behind me, I knew something for certain. I had lost a wife. But I had regained myself. And that envelope, it wasn't revenge. It was release.